Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that a lot of people do not want to hear. Sometimes your absence speaks louder than your presence ever did. Sometimes the moment you stop calling, stop texting, stop checking in, stop asking questions, and stop trying to hold a relationship together by yourself, that is the moment somebody finally realizes what they had. And that is why you have to understand this. Just because there is no contact does not mean there are no thoughts. Just because he is not texting does not mean he is not thinking. Just because he is quiet does not mean you never cross his mind. But, and this is the part you need to pay attention to, thinking about you is not the same thing as being ready for you. Missing you is not the same thing as being able to love you. Wondering about you is not the same thing as deserving access to you. And that right there is where too many people lose themselves because they feel somebody's absence and immediately start creating a story. He must still love me. He must be scared. He probably wants to reach out. He's probably waiting for me. He's probably checking my social media. He's probably regretting everything. Maybe. Maybe he is, but your life cannot be built around the word maybe. You need truth. And the truth is that when you remove yourself from somebody's life, you create space for them to feel your absence. That space can make them think. It can make them reflect. It can make them compare. It can make them remember conversations, moments, laughter, comfort, arguments, your voice, your energy, the way you showed up, and even the little things they took for granted. People often recognize value differently when access disappears. When you are always available, people can become accustomed to you. They stop appreciating the fact that you answered every call. They stop noticing the fact that you checked on them. They stop recognizing how much effort it took to keep things going. They simply expect you to be there. And once something becomes expected, people can stop treating it like a gift. That is why absence can become revealing. Not because silence is some magical trick, not because you can manipulate somebody into loving you, and certainly not because you should disappear just to make someone chase you. No, you step back because you have dignity. You step back because you are tired of carrying something alone. You step back because you realize that chasing somebody for basic attention is not love. You step back because you finally understand that your peace has a price and you are no longer willing to pay for somebody else's indecision with your emotional health. And once you do that, something powerful happens. You start seeing the relationship differently. You stop looking at what you hope he feels and you start looking at what he actually does. That is a major difference because feelings are hidden, jocks are visible. He may think about you every night. He may miss you. He may wonder where you are. He may look at old pictures. He may replay conversations. He may even regret some things. But if he never changes his behavior, what does that thought do for you? You cannot build a future on somebody's private thoughts. You build a future on consistent actions. That is the truth nobody wants to hear when they are waiting on somebody. And I know waiting feels easier than accepting because hope can be addictive. Hope lets you imagine that everything is about to change. Hope lets you reinterpret silence. Hope lets you say he'll come around. Hope lets you hold on when reality is telling you to let go. But sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is stop asking what he might be thinking and start asking what you need. What do you need? Do you need consistency? Do you need honesty? Do you need communication? Do you need respect? Do you need somebody who is certain about you? Do you need somebody who does not make you decode every message? Do you need somebody who doesn't disappear and then return whenever it becomes convenient? Because that is where your focus belongs. Not on whether you are still on his mind, on whether he deserves to be on yours. That is a different question, and that question changes everything because too many people are sitting around wondering, does he miss me? But nobody asks, do I miss who I was when I was with him? Nobody asks, did this relationship bring peace into my life? Nobody asks, was I respected? Nobody asks, was I valued? Nobody asks, was I emotionally safe? Everybody wants to know whether the other person still thinks about them, but your future depends on whether you are finally thinking about yourself. Listen to me carefully. You can be on somebody's mind and still not be in their plans. You can be in somebody's heart and still not be in their life. You can be missed and still be mistreated. You can be remembered and still not be chosen. You can be loved in somebody's own complicated way and still not receive the love you deserve. That is why you cannot use somebody's feelings as the only measurement of their intentions. Ditions matter, but actions tell the story. And when there is no contact, one of the biggest mistakes you can make is trying to become a detective. You start checking last seen times. You start watching story views. You start analyzing likes. You start asking friends questions. You start looking at who he follows. You start wondering why he posted that song. You start thinking the caption has some secret message. You start believing every little online movement has something to do with you. Stop turning your life into an investigation. You do not need to be a detective when the evidence is already in front of you. If somebody wants to talk to you, they know how. If somebody wants to apologize, they can. If somebody wants to clarify things, they have the ability. If somebody wants to rebuild trust, they can make an effort. You do not need to translate silence into love. You do not need to turn confusion into commitment. And you definitely do not need to chase someone into choosing you. Let them choose. Let their behavior speak. And here is something powerful about no contact that people misunderstand. No contact is not about making him suffer. It is about giving yourself enough space to stop suffering. Ride that again. You are not disappearing so he will panic. You are stepping back so your emotions can become clear. You are not going silent to control his reaction. You are going silent because you are tired of controlling everything. You cannot control whether he misses you. You cannot control whether he regrets losing you. You cannot control whether he reaches out. You cannot control what he tells his friends. You cannot control what he thinks at night. But you can control what you do next, and that is where your power lives, not in his reaction, in your decision. When you stop contacting someone, you discover something beautiful. You begin to hear yourself again. When you are constantly communicating with somebody, you are constantly responding to them. What did he mean? Why did she say that? Why did he take so long? Why didn't he answer? Why did he change? Why is he acting different? Why is he distant? Why is he warm today and cold tomorrow? Your mind becomes consumed with them, and little by little, you disappear from your own life. You stop asking what makes you happy. You stop asking what you want. You stop pursuing your goals. You stop taking care of your body. You stop enjoying your friends. You stop developing yourself. You stop dreaming, all because you're trying to understand someone who is not communicating clearly. No, come back to yourself. You have a life waiting for you. You have goals that have your name on them. You have dreams that do not depend on his text message. You have mornings that deserve more attention than your phone screen. You have a future that should not be placed on hold because somebody is undecided. And here is the strange thing. The more you focus on your own life, the more powerful your absence becomes. Not because you are trying to make him jealous, not because you suddenly post pictures pretending you are happier than you are, but because you genuinely become happier. You start going outside, you start laughing again, you start working, you start taking care of yourself, you start learning, you start building, you start sleeping peacefully, you start realizing that maybe the relationship was not the center of your life. Maybe you accidentally made it the center, and that is a huge difference. You are allowed to love someone and still release them. You are allowed to miss somebody and still move forward. You are allowed to remember the good times without reopening the door. You are allowed to care and still choose yourself. Because choosing yourself does not mean you never loved them. Sometimes it means you finally learned how to love yourself too. And yes, he may still be thinking about you. He may wonder why you stopped. He may ask himself whether you have moved on. He may think about the last conversation. He may wonder if you are happier without him. He may remember the way you used to care. He may realize that you were not asking for too much. You were asking the wrong person. And sometimes that realization comes late, very late. People have a funny way of recognizing value after they lose access to it. The person who had your attention every day may suddenly notice the silence. The person who ignored your messages may notice there are no more messages. The person who assumed you would always be there may suddenly realize you are not. That is not your cue to run back. That is information. And information should make you wiser, not desperate. When somebody finally notices your absence, you do not celebrate because they notice. You observe what they do with that realization. That is important. Do they come back with a plan? Do they communicate honestly? Do they acknowledge what happened? Do they take responsibility? Do they show consistent effort? Do they respect your boundaries? Do they demonstrate that something has changed? Or do they simply say, I miss you? Because I miss you can be sincere. But I miss you is not a complete relationship. Anybody can miss somebody. The real question is, what are you prepared to do differently? Anybody can remember the good times. The question is, can you create better times? Anybody can say they care. The question is, can you communicate consistently? Anybody can feel regret. The question is, can you grow? That is where maturity begins. And let me tell you something else. Do not confuse his silence with confidence. Sometimes people are silent because they are afraid. Sometimes they are silent because they are proud. Sometimes they are silent because they are confused. Sometimes they are silent because they do not know what to say. Sometimes they are silent because they are moving on. Sometimes they are silent because they simply do not want to engage. You cannot know which one it is without communication. So stop building emotional conclusions out of incomplete information. You deserve clarity. And when clarity is unavailable, choose peace. There is freedom in saying, I do not know what he is thinking, and I'm okay with not knowing. That sentence can change your life. I don't know, and I'm okay. I do not know whether he misses me, and I am okay. I do not know whether he will return, and I am okay. I do not know whether he regrets losing me, and I am okay because my peace cannot depend on information I do not have. That is emotional strength. And emotional strength is attractive, but more importantly, it is liberating. You don't have to prove that you are unforgettable. Stop trying to become the person somebody regrets losing. Become the person you are proud to be. That is the goal. Because sometimes you spend so much energy wondering, how can I make him realize my value? But why does your value require his realization? Your value existed before he met you. Your value exists whether he texts you or not. Your value exists whether he regrets leaving or not. Your value exists whether he chooses you or not. You do not become valuable because somebody understands you. They simply become wise enough to recognize what was already there. And some people are not wise enough. Some people learn only after loss. Some people learn after consequences. Some people do not learn at all. None of that should determine the quality of your life. And let me speak to the person listening right now who has been tempted to send that message. You know the one, the long message, the emotional paragraph, the I just wanted to check on you, the I hope you are doing okay, the I was thinking about you, the I don't know why I'm texting. Let me tell you something. Sometimes you do not need another message. Sometimes you need another decision. You need to decide that you will no longer beg for clarity. You need to decide that you will no longer chase reassurance. You need to decide that you will no longer sacrifice your dignity to keep a connection alive. And that does not mean playing games. This is not about pretending you do not care. You can care. You just do not have to chase. There is a difference. Chasing says, I need your response to feel okay. Strength says, I would love a response, but I will be okay without one. That is maturity. You can love someone without making them responsible for your emotional stability. And that is one of the strongest things you can learn, because once you stop needing someone to validate your worth, you become difficult to manipulate. You stop accepting crumbs. You stop getting excited because someone sent hey. You stop thinking a late night message means everything is changed. You stop confusing access with commitment. You start requiring consistency. And consistency is where real love lives. Not in dramatic apologies, not in random bursts of attention, not in emotional speeches at midnight, not in disappearing and returning. Consistency, respect, communication, effort, those things matter. And if he comes back, do not only ask, did he miss me? Ask, what changed? That one question can save you years. What changed? What did you learn? What are you doing differently? What do you actually want? Why are you back? And do not let chemistry answer a question that character needs to answer. Because you can have chemistry with someone who is completely wrong for you. You can have a deep connection with someone who is emotionally unavailable. You can feel drawn to someone and still know they are not capable of giving you a healthy relationship. Your heart can be honest and still be mistaken. That is why wisdom must sit beside emotion. You cannot let longing drive the car. You need discernment. And here's the truth about being on his mind. You probably are. People remember people who affected them. They remember people who loved them deeply. They remember conversations that changed something inside them. They remember moments they cannot recreate. They remember the person who believed in them. They remember the person who supported them. They remember the person who challenged them. They remember the person who finally walked away. So yes, it is possible that you are still on his mind, But now I want you to ask yourself something more important. Are you still on your own mind? Because somewhere along the way, you may have become so focused on whether he is thinking about you that you forgot to think about your own future. You forgot about your own confidence. You forgot about your own peace. You forgot about your own purpose. You forgot about your own potential. And I am here to remind you, come back home to yourself, come back to your standards, come back to your goals, come back to your laughter, come back to your sleep, come back to your peace, come back to your identity. Because the best version of you is not the version that gets somebody to miss you. The best version of you is the version that no longer needs to be missed. Think about that. You are not trying to become unforgettable. You are becoming fulfilled. That is a much bigger goal. And when you become fulfilled, something changes in the way you approach relationships. You stop saying, please don't leave me. You start saying, if you leave, I will survive. You stop saying, what can I do to keep you? You start saying, what are you willing to do to build this? You stop saying, how do I make you choose me? You start saying, are you capable of choosing me consistently? You stop accepting potential. You start evaluating reality. That is growth. And growth can be painful because sometimes growth means admitting that the person you love, the person is not who can love you properly. That hurts, but truth hurts less than prolonged confusion. At least truth gives you somewhere to stand. And standing on truth is better than floating on hope. So yes, perhaps you are still on his mind. Perhaps he remembers you. Perhaps he misses you. Perhaps he wonders about you. Perhaps he even regrets some decisions. But your job is not to sit around waiting for those thoughts to become actions. Your job is to live. Live while he is thinking, live while he is confused, live while he is deciding, live while he is silent, live whether he comes back or not. Because your life does not pause just because somebody else has not made a decision. You cannot give somebody the remote control to your emotional life. You cannot hand them the power to determine whether today is a good day. You cannot wake up every morning asking, did he text? Wake up asking, what am I building today? That question has purpose. That question has power. That question moves your life forward. And here is the final thing I want you to remember. Silence is not your weapon. Silence is your space. Use it wisely. Do not use it to manipulate. Use it to heal. Do not use it to make him jealous. Use it to hear your own voice. Do not use it to create fear. Use it to create clarity. Do not use it to punish somebody. Use it to stop punishing yourself. That is the difference. And when you become comfortable with your own company, you stop chasing people who are uncomfortable with commitment. When you become comfortable with your own silence, you stop begging others to fill it. When you become comfortable with your own worth, you stop negotiating for a seat at somebody else's table. You understand that being alone is not the same as being unwanted. Being single is not the same as being unlovable. Being ignored is not the same as being insignificant. Someone else's inability to value you does not reduce your value. Remember that. Your worth is not up for negotiation. You do not need a man to miss you to prove that you mattered. You do not need him to regret losing you to prove that you were special. You do not need him to return to prove that you were enough. You were enough the whole time. And perhaps the lesson of no contact is not that it makes him think about you. Perhaps the deeper lesson is that it finally teaches you to think about yourself. Maybe the silence is not really about him. Maybe the silence is about you. Maybe this distance is giving you an opportunity to become stronger. Maybe this season is forcing you to stop chasing and start choosing. Maybe you are finally learning that love should not require you to abandon yourself. Maybe you are realizing that peace is not boring. Peace is a blessing. Maybe you are discovering that being wanted feels good, but being respected feels better. Maybe you are discovering that attention is exciting, but consistency is valuable. Maybe you are discovering that chemistry can start a relationship, but character is what sustains it. And maybe, just maybe, the person you have been so afraid of losing was never supposed to be the person you lost yourself for. Think about that. You can miss him without contacting him. You can love him without chasing him. You can care about him without waiting for him. You can remember him without returning to him. And you can hope for the best while still moving forward. That is strength. So tonight, stop asking whether you are still on his mind. Ask whether you are still committed to your own life. Ask whether you are still moving toward your goals. Ask whether you are becoming healthier emotionally. Ask whether you are protecting your peace. Ask whether your standards are stronger than your loneliness. Ask whether your self-respect is stronger than your temptation to reach out. Because the greatest victory is not making somebody miss you. The greatest victory is reaching a place where their decision no longer determines your worth. And when that happens, you will not need to chase. You will not need to prove. You will not need to manipulate. You will not need to investigate. You will simply observe. If he comes back with honesty, maturity, accountability, and consistency, you can evaluate that. If he does not come back, you will continue. Either way, you win because you chose yourself. And that is the truth. You may still be on his mind, but you need to stay on your own. You need to remember yourself. You need to protect yourself. You need to build yourself. You need to believe in yourself. You need to become so focused on becoming the person you were created to be that you no longer spend your whole day wondering who is thinking about you. Let them think. Let them wonder. Let them remember. Let them decide. Your responsibility is different. Your responsibility is to live, to grow, to heal, to build, to become. And one day you may look back at this chapter and realize something extraordinary. The silence did not destroy you. The distance did not destroy you. The unanswered messages did not destroy you. The ending did not destroy you. It introduced you to a stronger version of yourself, a calmer version, a wiser version, a more disciplined version, a more confident version, a version that knows the difference between love and attachment, a version that knows the difference between attention and effort, a version that knows the difference between missing somebody and needing somebody, a version that understands that your heart is precious and everybody does not deserve access to it. So keep moving, keep growing, keep your head up. Do not chase what is walking away. Do not beg for what should be freely given. Do not shrink yourself so somebody else can feel comfortable. Do not lower your standards because you are lonely. Do not confuse silence with destiny. And do not spend your entire life trying to prove that you are worth loving. The right person will not require a courtroom presentation. They will recognize your value through your character, your presence, your consistency, and the way you treat people. And when you meet someone who genuinely wants you in their life, you will not spend every night asking whether they are thinking about you. You will know. Not because they made some mysterious gesture. Not because you decoded their social media. Not because someone told you what they probably feel. You will know because they will communicate, they will show up, they will make effort, they will be consistent, they will make room, they will make plans, they will keep their word, they will make you feel secure rather than constantly confused. And when that kind of love arrives, you will understand why the previous relationship had to teach you so much. So right now, breathe, put the phone down, stop checking, stop guessing, stop creating stories. Stop asking everybody else for answers they do not have. Come back to yourself. Let time reveal what time reveals. Let actions reveal what actions reveal. And let people show you who they are without trying to rescue them from the truth. Because the truth is always better than the fantasy. And if he is thinking about you, let him think. If he misses you, let him miss you. If he regrets losing you, let him sit with that regret. If he wants to come back, let him come back correctly. But you keep going, you keep building, you keep becoming, you keep choosing peace, you keep choosing dignity, you keep choosing yourself. Because the woman who stops chasing is not necessarily the woman who stopped loving. She may simply be the woman who finally learned that love should never cost her herself. And that is the truth. You do not need to be on his mind. You need to be in your own life. You need to be in your own future. You need to be in your own purpose. And when you become fully present in your own life, something incredible happens. You stop waiting for someone to come back and start becoming someone you are proud to come home to. That is the real transformation. That is the real victory. And that is where your next chapter begins. Not when he texts, not when he apologizes, not when he realizes what he lost. Right now, today with you, choose yourself and keep going.